Coming up now in your spoiler-free wrestling news rundown, is Prince Devitt returning to Bullet Club? We've also got the results from the 2 title matches that took place in Hiroshima on Monday, and we've also got an update on the criminal investigation into Tammy Sitch, aka Sunny. Subscribe to Spoiler-Free Wrestling for all your wrestling news. It was Prince Devitt's heel turn in 2013 that kickstarted Bullet Club in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He'd bring in Bad Luck Fale as his personal bouncer. Carl Anderson and Tama Tonga would join as the other 2 founding 4 members of the faction. It is now still going strong some 9 years later. Bullet Club is in New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, and All Elite Wrestling. Well, the wrestler now known as Finn Balor posted something to social media recently, which has a lot of fans wondering if he plans on leaving WWE and rejoining the faction he helped form. So up on your screen now is a picture that Balor posted to his Twitter. You can see he is sitting on the ring apron with many of the championships and trophies that he has won throughout his career. And coming through in the background, you can also see a Bullet Club logo. He has included the hashtag #RealRock'n'Rolla along with this tweet, which of course was one of his nicknames in New Japan Pro Wrestling as well. Now, in terms of when Devitt would be contractually able to leave WWE and return to New Japan Pro Wrestling, return to Bullet Club, that's not clear. There's no solid reports out there regarding when his contract is up, how long his deal is for. However, there's been numerous reports that Vince McMahon is not a fan of Finn Balor. However, always wanted to re-sign him to keep him from going to AEW. So in January of this year, Ringside News reported that Vince McMahon never had faith in Balor, even when he made him the first Universal Champion. Paul Heyman would feel much differently if he was still executive director of Raw. That being said, WWE has not released the first ever Universal Champion. His contract isn't cheap, but even if he's making $1 million a year, that's not a lot of money by today's standards. And so the report would continue to say that WWE wanted to re-sign Balor only to keep him from going to AEW. However, this recent social media post by Balor might suggest that that contract he has with WWE is coming up shortly. However, that's just speculation. There is no concrete news out there regarding when Finn Balor becomes a free agent. So it was also reported earlier this year regarding Finn Balor that he is now in what is being referred to as the Jeff Hardy spot in WWE. So this report up on your screen now is from WrestlingNews.co, and this is what they said about Vince McMahon's feelings regarding Finn Balor. They wrote, yeah, Finn was moved into the spot that Jeff Hardy had. He's just there now to help get over the younger guys. There was a pitch to make him heel, but that was weeks ago, and I haven't heard much about it since then. Vince never saw Finn as more than just a mid-card guy. Finn Balor recently lost the United States Championship to Austin Theory on an episode of WWE Raw. He was also left off both nights of WrestleMania this year, which might be a sign of what his standing within the company is. We will just have to wait and see if Finn Balor returns to being Prince Devitt once his contract with WWE has expired. Just a warning, we are going to talk about the results from New Japan Pro Wrestling show in Hiroshima on April 25th. If you haven't had a chance to see the show and would like to, you may want to skip over this part or just watch this video after you've had a chance to see the event. There were 2 title matches on the show. In the semi-main event, the Gorillas of Destiny and Hiroshi Tanahashi had a chance to win the Never 6-Man championships against House of Torture's Evil Show and Yujiro Takahashi. Things were looking good for the New Japan main unit. However, House of Torture would end up retaining the titles after Evil gave Tangaloa a low blow, Show hit him with a wrench, and Yujiro Takahashi picked up the pin. However, Tama Tonga will have a chance to avenge this loss at Wrestling Dontaku on May 1st when he challenges Evil for the Never Openweight Championship. Tangaloa will also have a chance for revenge when he takes on Yujiro Takahashi on that same show. Also on the New Japan Pro Wrestling show from Hiroshima, Shingo Takagi is the new holder of the KOPW trophy. He defeated Taichi for that honor in the main event. So as with all KOPW matches, this one was contested under a unique set of rules that was put forward by Taichi and then put up to a fan vote. So the rules were it was the first wrestler to get a cumulative 30 count on their opponent. So a 1 count was worth 1, a 2 count was worth 2, and so on. And it would be Shingo Takagi actually picking up a 6 count to end the match after a pumping bomber. He is now your new KOPW champion. There is an update available on the criminal investigation into Tammy Sitch, aka Sunny. The WWE Hall of Famer was involved in a fatal car accident on March 25th that led to the death of a 75-year-old man. Sitch is alleged to have crashed into the rear end of the deceased's vehicle while it was stopped at a stoplight. He was then transported to hospital where he later died. Police reports are saying that the police suspected that Sitch was inebriated at the time of the accident, and 2 witnesses have said that they saw her driving at a high rate of speed. So the police department has released a statement regarding the investigation into Sitch and potential criminal charges being pressed against her. They had previously said they were waiting for toxicology reports before pressing charges. They released a statement that said, "We have received part of the toxicology report. If charges are filed, they will not be until the investigation is completed. We will update the press release once a decision is reached." So basically, they are still waiting on the full toxicology report. Now, Tammy Sitch denied culpability recently while responding to people on social media. So on April 22nd, someone asked her how fast she was driving when she slammed into the back of the deceased car. Tammy Sitch responded, about 10 since I was slowing down to, I guess she means to the light. But he had a heart attack, nothing to do with my seizure. So there's a couple of things to maybe take away from that. One, is she claiming that she was only driving 10 miles per hour at the time of the accident? She is also stating that the deceased died of a heart attack and that this had nothing to do with a seizure that she appears to be claiming she suffered at the time of the accident. When Jay White made an appearance on AEW Dynamite last week, he talked about it still being Bullet Club's era and also talked about an alliance between Bullet Club and the members of the Undisputed Elite. Of course, the Undisputed Elite, 3 out of the 5 of them are former Bullet Club members. You have Adam Cole, who's a former Bullet Club member, the Young Bucks, who are former Bullet Club members, and then Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, who were in the Undisputed Era with Cole in NXT. Then later on Rampage, which was filmed Wednesday night but aired on Friday night, Jay White helped Adam Cole defeat Tomohiro Ishii to advance into the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. Jay White came to ringside, threw Rocky Romero into a set of steel steps, and the distraction was enough to allow Adam Cole to pick up the victory over Ishii. So we're seeing Bullet Club and the Undisputed Elite already working together in AEW as we get ready for AEW and NJPW's Forbidden Door pay-per-view on June 26th. And we will just see what role Bullet Club plays on AEW programming leading up to that big pay-per-view. So we saw 4 matches on AEW Rampage this week. The first was Adam Cole defeating Tomohiro Ishii. Later we'd see Lance Archer defeat Serpentico. Eddie Kingston defeated Daniel Garcia. And for the TBS Championship, Jade Cargill successfully defended her title against the Problem, Marina Shafir. Also, regarding the match between Eddie Kingston and Daniel Garcia, folks that were there live are reporting that the match was heavily edited when it aired on Rampage on Friday night, with some reports saying as much as 9 minutes of the match was shaved off in editing, likely to make sure there was room for everything else on the show. We noted in a previous video that Fightful Select reported that Darius Martin has suffered a leg injury that is expected to keep him out of action for a significant period of time. This after he just returned from a 13-month absence as a result of a torn ACL. He took to Twitter and wrote, "What I'm currently dealing with had nothing to do with wrestling, but I'm glad everyone else out there seems to know more about my health than I do." So I believe he's saying that the injury he sustained was not during a wrestling match, but it's not really clear exactly what he is talking about in this tweet. Impact Wrestling held its Rebellion pay-per-view this weekend from the Mid-Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie, New York. 3 championships changed hands on the show. Let's just quickly run down the results. So on the pre-show, we saw Eddie Edwards defeat Bullet Club's Chris Bay. We saw The Influence, Madison Rayne and Tennille Dashwood retain the Impact Knockouts tag team titles against The Inspiration, Cassie Lee and Jessie McKay. Then on the pay-per-view, we saw Steve Maclin win a triple threat match against Chris Sabin and Jay White. For the AAA Reina de Reinas Championship, we saw our first title change as longtime holder of that title, Taya Valkyrie, defeated the then current champion Deonna Purrazzo. So Taya Valkyrie, once again the Reina de Reinas Championship. She will be at the Triple Mania Monterrey show on the weekend. For the Impact X Division Championship, Ace Austin won the title. He defeated Trey Miguel and Mike Bailey in a triple threat match. We saw Tomohiro Ishii give Jonah a big brain buster and win that match, so Ishii picks up the victory over Jonah. There was an 8-team gauntlet for the Impact World Tag Team Championships. Violent by Design had the benefit of a late entry into the match, and they would retain their titles. Teams such as the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, as well as Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, and also Brian Myers and Matt Cardona were all in that match. Tasha Steelz retained her Impact Knockouts Championship by defeating Rosemary, and in the main event, Josh Alexander, for the second time, wins the Impact World Championship. He defeated Moose in the main event. Jonathan Gresham had been pulled from this show. He had also been pulled from shows with Progress Wrestling last weekend, and it was suspected that he had actually suffered a concussion in his match with Dalton Castle from Battle of the Belts in AEW. However, the night before Rebellion, he actually wrestled for a C4 wrestling event in Canada on that Friday, but then was pulled from the match on Rebellion the following night. So it's not clear why exactly Gresham didn't appear on the Rebellion pay-per-view. It could have been something to do with flights, could have had to do with travel, but he was medically cleared enough to wrestle the night before. And finally, a very interesting episode of AEW Dark Elevation will air tonight. This was taped last week from the Peterson Event Center in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We will see Minoru Suzuki on the show. Minoru Suzuki's on an episode of Dark Elevation. He will take on QT Marshall. John Silver will take on Vince Villar. Max Caster will take on Penta Oscura. Ruby Soho, Anna Jay, and Sky Blue will take on Nyla Rose, Emi Sakura, and The Bunny. Luther, Bulk Nasty, Tito Eric, Jake Omen, and RC Dupree will take on the Dark Order's Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, Alex Reynolds, Alan Angels, and 10. DDT's Takashita will take on Brandon Cutler, and that's the first time that he's been back in over a year, and we have been promised more DDT wrestlers in AEW in the near future. Chris Statlander will also take on Julia Hart, and Tony Nese will take on the Steel City Brawler. That'll do it for this video, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to Spoiler Free Wrestling for all your wrestling news.